Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be adding Apple CarPlay to this E90 BMW. Special thanks to Seicane for providing the hardware today. So as the title said, you can add Apple CarPlay to your E90 or pretty much any car for $100. This supports Android Auto as well. So it's essentially a dash cam with a massive screen on the front. So what's unique about this hardware is it will work on any car really. It's completely universal. So as you guys know, if you have an E90 without iDrive, it has a very flat dash, which would be well suited to this product in my opinion. So this screen is tiltable. This dash naturally angles down a little bit, but when you put the base on there and tilt the screen back, you can make it completely flat. It's within your field of view, but it's not blocking your vision. It's just similar to how a newer generation BMW would be, or specifically more like an F30. So you add a dash cam to your car as well as add Android Auto or Apple CarPlay for $100. It's pretty awesome. In terms of power inputs, you just have a USB-C cable that plugs in over here. That's going to feed power. You can see on the back side, that's your lens for the dash camera. As soon as we plugged it in, it came alive. And if you go down here, we plugged into the 12-volt accessory outlet. What you would be doing basically is sticking it on your dash. There's screw holes if you wanted to do that, but that I'm sure most of you guys wouldn't want to do that. If we click home here, we can go over to recorder. Just FYI, this records in 4K and it can support a 256 gig SD card, but it's not included. Keep that in mind, but there's an idea of the picture quality. Looks pretty good. So if we click home here now, first thing you're gonna do is go over here. If you have a really old car that doesn't support auxiliary input, then you can utilize an FM transmitter, which is built in, and select your station here. But we're utilizing the auxiliary, and I'll show you where to connect that in a moment. Now, we had to make our original connection, and this shows you the instructions. FYI, the default password for this is 123456778, so that's not hard to remember. First thing you'd be doing is going over and looking for this Wi-Fi network on your phone, and then you're going to be looking for Bluetooth, and the device name is the same. Connect to it. What we had to do was power the unit off and on one time to be able to get it to bring up CarPlay. The phone asked if we wanted to use CarPlay, and we said yes. So my nephew's gonna turn on his Wi-Fi right now, and let's see if this seamlessly connects to Apple CarPlay. You'll have to take my word for it that that was seamless. It just popped up the map, so we couldn't show that, but right off the bat, it brings you to your native Apple CarPlay, and that's the speed of it. That's the responsiveness. It's pretty good. It's not 100%, but it's 95% quick. It does what you need. You can open up your apps. As everybody knows about Apple CarPlay, this is wireless. If you have Android Auto, you could do the same. It supports that as well. And then you have your recorder here. This is where you'd pull up clips and whatnot and to review, or even here if you want to review, but you have to have the SD card installed. So it's basically the dash cam. Then you have your mobile internet, which would bring up your wireless CarPlay or Android Auto, and then some settings, brightness, and date and whatnot. So pretty intuitive interface. And if you guys don't know, that's how you connect to auxiliary on an E90, but it fell down on this one. Happened on my 335 back in the day as well, but we're connected. Now, if you're utilizing the USB-C power input, you're gonna have an auxiliary cord right here. That's what you're gonna plug into. So you wanna make that connection for us. So just like that, we're good to go. And then you'd have to take our word for it, but you could just hear the beeping sound came through the speakers. We'd have music and we'd be good to go there. Sound quality is decent, probably like a 7 or 8 out of 10, about what you'd expect from an Android head unit. Okay, so if you don't want to utilize the power cord down there, it comes with this harness. You could tap into your fuse panel and then have a ground here to get power run to it if you're trying to go for a cleaner install, maybe route everything up and through the dash. But this would be positive and this would be switched ignition positive, so that it would only provide power when the key is on. If your cigarette lighter stays powered when you shut the car off, then you'd have to manually turn off a button right here. But on E90s, luckily, as soon as you turn off the key, it cuts power to it. We'll try turning off the key now. As you can see, it's saying shutting down in 5 seconds. So on these cars, it's quite seamless. All right, just one key on, and luckily on an E90, the auxiliary 12-volt cigarette lighter comes on only when the key's on, so it's kind of foolproof here. But really, if you want a clean install, you could do this. You could use this instead, and then you're gonna have the same auxiliary input, USB input, etc. But we're looking for ease of installation, so we're not gonna be using this. Now we're not going to be utilizing this as well. It's an option. My nephew isn't too concerned about installing a reverse camera, but it did come in the kit. So if you look here, it has a simple small jack. So that'll just go right above the power cord for input for reverse. So what you do is you'd run all this cabling to the back of the car, and then you would be going to your tail lights, and you could use a tap connector to supply power, the reverse light power. So when it senses your reverse lights on, this will energize and activate the reverse camera, and that would just natively pop up on your screen. So if you want a reverse camera, that's included, no extra cost, and that would be utilized in an accident situation as well, as far as I understand. You'll have front camera recording and rear camera recording. It came with a couple screws for the reverse camera, but ultimately that's the whole package there. Screen protector. I think it's pretty cool that this thing comes with Apple CarPlay. That's the main feature of this thing. It's a very easy way to implement wireless Apple CarPlay on an E90 in particular, given it has a very flat dash. If you want the dash cam functionality, then you just got to get yourself the micro SD card. So the only question now is, where do we run this cabling? So we're going to mess around with that a little bit off camera, and then we'll show you what we ended up doing to make it so it's kind of out of the way, and then we'll cut back when we're ready to permanently mount that. I would recommend you clean your dashboard, get rid of any oils so that it adheres nicely. All right, here's what we ended up with. Routed the cabling down around, and then just up through here. Somewhat clean, pops up right there. So we're gonna go ahead and mount the screen to the dash now. All right, now we're just cleaning the dashboard with some cleaning solution. We're using some ammonia here to get rid of any grease or oils so that the adhesive will work better. So now that we've cleaned the dashboard, we can place this, in terms of being in line of sight, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of just go based on what you prefer. So I'll ask him what he prefers. You don't have to worry about the angle. Like if you get that wrong or you slid it too far forward, you can get it definitely straight. So we'll play around with this and decide on the ideal placement. Okay, so what we did basically is try to center it with the hazard button, and he wants it a little bit more forward. You can go back and tilt the angle, but he's preferring to keep it more toward the front. We don't have to really worry about the angle. We'll play with that near the end. There you go. A very easy way to modernize your BMW. This is not just for E90s, but it seems to work really well. Special thanks to Seicane for sending this. It's a really good option if you guys want Apple CarPlay for your E90 or pretty much any car on the cheap. If this is the first video you're catching on mine, please consider subscribing. If you liked it, please give it a like so it rank higher. Thanks for watching.